Flight attendant unjustly dragged black teen off plane. One call, 5 minutes later, $600 million frozen. Before we dive in this story, hit the comments and tell us your city or country. Let's see how far this story reaches. If you like the video, please subscribe. She was just 17, bright, respectful, headed to a college tour that could change her life. But when the flight attendant accused her of acting suspicious, things spiraled fast. No questions, no warnings, just cold hands gripping her arm as they pulled her from the seat she paid for. People watched, some whispered, but no one moved. What they didn't know was who her guardian was, and when he got the call, everything changed. The airline didn't just lose a customer that day, it lost $600 million. Watch until the end. Kyla James had been working all year for this moment. A 17-year-old honor student from Atlanta, she'd earned a full scholarship to visit Stanford for a pre-college summit. Her aunt helped book the flight, and everything was planned to the minute. Dressed in her best jeans and blazer, hair in a neat bun, she boarded the plane alone, nervous, excited, proud. She didn't speak much during the boarding process, just nodded politely, took her seat, and pulled out a book. She had no idea that someone behind her had been watching her differently, not with admiration, but suspicion. To the flight crew, she didn't look like she belonged in first class. And when the plane doors closed, a quiet tension began to build. All Kyla wanted was to get to California, but the airline had other plans, ones that had nothing to do with her behavior and everything to do with what they saw when they looked at her. The flight attendant passed by her row once, then twice, eyes lingering. Kyla smiled politely, unsure why the woman's expression seemed so cold. 15 minutes in, just as the crew gave final checks, two attendants approached. "Miss, can we see your boarding pass again?" Kyla hesitated, confused, then handed it over. First class. Interesting," one murmured. Kyla's stomach dropped. "Yes, my aunt booked it for me." The attendants exchanged a look. "We've had reports of suspicious behavior," the taller one said, voice firm. Before Kyla could speak, they asked her to step into the aisle. She looked around. Passengers stared, whispered. The humiliation stung worse than the confusion. She asked, "What did I do?" That's when they said it. "You've been flagged. You'll need to deplane." No explanation, no warning, just dragged down the aisle with her bag. Tears welled up, but she refused to cry in front of them. Outside the jet bridge, an airline rep stood coldly, saying they were investigating her behavior. She called her aunt. No answer. Then she called someone else. She hesitated before dialing. It wasn't someone she ever called directly, but she had the number. One ring. Two. Then, "Kyla? Uncle Miles, they pulled me off the plane. I didn't do anything." She heard silence. Then, "Stay right there." Kyla didn't know precisely what Uncle Miles did, only that he was powerful. But she was about to find out just how powerful it was. 5 minutes later, chaos erupted in the airport's corporate wing. Miles Caldwell, billionaire investor, tech mogul, and lead shareholder of the airline's parent company, was on the phone with the board. His voice was ice. "You let them drag my niece off a flight for reading quietly in her seat?" He didn't yell. He didn't have to. Within minutes, internal systems froze. $600 million in funding placed on hold. Contracts, ad deals, expansion projects. The airline stock began to dip. Back on the tarmac, the same attendants who humiliated Kyla were now scrambling, begging her to reboard. But it was too late. The damage was done. They hadn't just messed with a young black teen, they messed with family. And her family owned the sky they were flying in. Kyla never got back on that plane. Instead, her uncle sent a private jet to fly her to Stanford. But the fallout continued. The story made national headlines. The airline issued a public apology. Sensitivity training became mandatory, and the attendants involved were let go. But for Kyla, The scars lingered. The humiliation. The way no one stood up. The feeling of being judged just for who she was. And she wasn't alone. How many more brilliant young lives are stalled, shamed, or silenced for simply existing? Her story is one of many. But maybe, just maybe, this one made them listen. Which city and country are you watching from? Comment below. Your voice matters. Take care.